going to do right before the debate is we're going to run through this article real quick about these policies that we don't never talk about. Remember, because how we don't never talk about policies, that's not what we do here. You know what I'm saying? So we're going to talk about these policies that Kamala Harris allegedly finally posted onto her website. All right. Kamala Harris finally publishes policy website after month into campaign, and it still lacks specifics, critics say. All right. So now here it says Vice President Kamala Harris finally went live with her campaign website Sunday after going more than a month with no official policy platform. Yet critics said the site still lacks specifics beyond general visions and hopes. The new website lists the policies that Harris had announced already in the past, including her $25,000 quote unquote, as they say here, handout for new home buyers, increasing tax deductions for new small businesses from $5,000 to $50,000, banning quote unquote price gouging on groceries, and $6,000 child tax credit. All these, as we have proven, are all Biden era policy. If you guys would agree that this is Biden era policy, give me a thumbs up. If you guys would disagree, give me a thumbs down. Shout out to my man, James Hudson. What's good with it, bro? The website is touted as a quote unquote new way forward, which is interesting, but let's see what they say. Despite Harris having been VP for more than the past 3 years and repeating some of Biden's policies, all of this stuff comes out of the Inflation Reduction Act. We've proven this as a fact, right? If you guys would agree, all of this stuff comes out of the Inflation Reduction Act. Give me a thumbs up. If you guys disagree, give me a thumbs down. Now, the Inflation Reduction Act is the backbone of Bidenomics. Right? Would you guys agree? How many people would agree that the Inflation Reduction Act is the backbone of Bidenomics? Shout out to Cameron. What's good with it, bro? Now, my question for everybody is, if the Inflation Reduction Act is the backbone of Bidenomics, what is the expectation of people of a Kamala Harris presidency? All right, so now here it says these are not policy positions, nothing on border security either. And now the cryptocurrency people are not very happy with Kamala Harris either. I got some articles from Cointelegraph that I had planned to do. I just ran out of time today to do, but hopefully maybe I'll be able to get them done tomorrow. These are goals that scream, we are raising your taxes, an ex-user wrote. Another person said the border bill is political theater. Trump didn't require legislation to achieve a more secure border. Neither does Biden or Harris. Oh, now that's an interesting point. What do y'all think about that? If you guys agree with that and that's true, give me a thumbs up. If y'all disagree and that's false, then give me a thumbs down. Trump campaign National Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt said in a statement, Kamala Harris added a late night let's keep it community friendly, even though it'll get yellow dollar signed anyway, wish of policies to her website to solve the problems she helped create over the past 4 years. Now, again, let's do a true or false on that. True or false? If Kamala really wanted to lower costs and secure the border, why did she cast the tie-breaking vote to cause inflation and support the war on our energy industry? And why is she allowing an invasion of illegal immigrants through our southern border as we speak? These are all great questions. Do you think that they'll get answered tonight in the debate? Other parts of Harris's policy agenda on the site lay out her goals for her potential future administration, but don't establish how she would get there other than say, we will fight for them. She'll fight to raise minimum wage, end sub-minimum wages for tipped workers and people with disabilities, establish paid family and medical leave, and eliminate taxes on tips for service and hospitality workers, the website reads. Now, is that her original policy? Those things there? Vice President Harris will fight to ensure parents can afford high quality childcare and preschool for their children, it adds. At another point, the site says she and Governor Walz will always fight for the freedom to breathe clean air, drink clean water, and free from pollution that fuels the climate crisis, which is interesting because if we look at Democrat track record with drinking water, is it fair for us to be able to use Flint, Michigan as a reference point? Past behaviors are future indications of future actions, right? On the U.S. Supreme Court, the site says Harris sides with President Biden on establishing unprecedented reforms such as term limits and requiring justices to comply with ethics rules. Vice President Harris believes that no one is above the law. Interesting. I wonder, does she feel that way about Hunter Biden? She'll fight to ensure that no former president has immunity for crimes committed while in the White House, the website reads. What about their kids? She will also support common sense Supreme Court reforms like requiring justices to comply with ethics rules that other federal judges are bound by and imposing term limits to address the crisis of confidence facing the Supreme Court, it says. Here's my question for everybody. What is the crisis of confidence facing the Supreme Court? I'm not aware. What is it? What are we questioning? Now, shout out to Jay Bird. Jay Bird said also Jackson, Mississippi. Yeah, is Jackson, Mississippi a Democrat-controlled area? I'm not sure. Are they conservative-controlled or Democrat? Let me know. I'm not sure exactly. Harris doesn't offer any new vision for Israel on the site, but reiterates that she will, quote unquote, ensure Israel has the right to defend itself, which is funny because they want to take away your guns, right? And that she and Biden are working on a hostage deal with Hamas to release Israelis and make sure the suffering in Gaza ends. What about a hostage deal with American citizens from the debt system? Because we're all hostages to that. Harris' campaign did not respond to an inquiry from the Post on Monday, and that's because she was speaking, so she couldn't be bothered. You know what I'm saying? So now here it says Kamala Harris pledges to soak the rich, but her policies have showered them in cash. This article came out today, September 10th of 2024. Now, what's interesting about this is that, you know, there was not really a lot of critical stuff asked. Kind of just easy. This was almost easier than the debate, or this was almost easier than the interview with Dana Bash. Would you guys agree? If you guys would agree, give me a thumbs up. If you guys would disagree, give me a thumbs down. Shout out to Black Spider. Make sure y'all show Black Spider some love. Throw some flames, some radiation emoji, and some ducks in the chat for Black Spider with the $10 super chat.
How do you think that we fund this organization, huh? We're not exactly the March of Dimes.
All right, that's what's up, man. So now here it says, as the presidential race enters its final weeks, Vice President Kamala Harris is positioning herself as the champion of middle-class America, vowing to finally make the wealthy pay for their fair share. Yet a closer look at her record over the past 4 years reveals a stark contrast between her rhetoric and reality. And what do I always tell people about the maintenance of reality? I don't allow people to live in a fantasy world. This is one of the reasons why you see a lot of people not really gravitate towards my content, because people need the self-soothing of a fantasy world to cope with reality. I reject that notion. You know what I'm saying? Far from soaking the rich, Harris's policies have funneled resources to the wealthy and corporations while burdening the middle-class taxpayers. It would have been nice to have gotten some questions and this discussed, right? Corporate subsidies have exploded under the Biden administration. Let me ask you guys this question. Is anybody aware of how much the GM plant in Michigan received from the Biden administration? Is anybody aware of that? Anybody want to put those numbers in the chat? Shout out to J7, J007. Definitely appreciate it, bro. Make sure y'all show J007 some love. Throw some flames, some radiation emoji, and ducks in the chat for J007 with the $10 super chat.
Get the money, y'all. There's poor people around. I'm rich, bitch.
Cash rules everything around me. Queen, get the money. Dollar bill, yo.
How do you think that we fund this organization, huh? We're not exactly the March of Dimes.
Definitely appreciate it, bro. All right. So now here it says corporate subsidies have exploded under the Biden administration. In 2021, the 10-year budget allowed for corporate subsidies of $1.2 trillion. 3 years later, it has now surpassed $2 trillion. Did they mention any of that in the debate? If they mentioned any of that in the debate, give me a thumbs up. If they didn't, give me a thumbs down. And now I'm not asking who was right or wrong. I'm just asking, was this stuff mentioned? Because it would have been nice to see this in an open forum. In 2022, CHIPS and Science Act included $54 billion in corporate subsidies. Intel alone, Intel Inside, the company that produces the Pentium processors, Almost $20 billion in grants and loans through the CHIPS Act. How many people knew about that? There's so much money given away. Everybody doesn't even have time to be outraged about all the stuff that people are giving money away for and not giving money to us. You know what I'm saying? People didn't even know about this, did they? You don't watch the right channels on YouTube. That's why you don't know about it. You know what I'm saying? The Inflation Reduction Act uncapped a slew of energy subsidies, massively expending energy production and investment tax credits, according to the Brookings Institution, will cost an estimated $780. Now, we should probably at some point check out this Brookings Institution article, Economic Implications of the quote-unquote climate provisions of the Inflation Reduction Act. Now, you guys remember when I said that Kamala Harris's policies are Biden 2.0 policies because most of her policies are drawn from the Inflation Reduction Act. You guys remember I said that? So we definitely at some point need to go over this. Hopefully we'll be able to have time to do it tomorrow, but I ain't got all day tomorrow like I had to, today, so I might not be able to. So y'all just be stuck. So hopefully one of these, amazing YouTube creators will be able to fit that in for you. Right? You know what I'm saying? So now here it says the Inflation Reduction Act uncapped a slew of energy subsidies, massively expanding energy production and investment credits. And according to the Brookings Institution, will cost an estimated $780 billion just in corporate welfare by 2031. Now, let me ask you guys this question. How much of that $780 billion is going to go directly into our pockets and help us to deal with the disparity of us having no majority ownership businesses on the S&P 500? What do you guys think? The beneficiaries of this largest are extremely concentrated. 3/4 of the benefits of the IRA are shared by just 15 large corporations, 7 of which are foreign. Wind turbine manufacturers like General Electric, Vestas, Siemens, Gamesta, who collectively produce 79% of all turbines are among the biggest winners. 79% of all turbines. Doesn't that sound getting in the realms of antitrust, anti-competition? Yeah, shout out to 6 Mile Pete. Not 1 cent. As much as not getting any money out of the money being given out is supposedly the headlining outrage that'll get people watching your content on YouTube, it's very interesting how not very much content has been made or watched about this. Isn't it? Isn't that weird? How's that work? It's kind of counterintuitive. If we're pocket watching, why are we not watching the ledger? See what I'm saying about like not allowing people to not live outside of reality? You know what I'm saying? Like there's always a cause and effect for everything. Nothing just happens alone and in a vacuum for no reason. You know what I'm saying? These companies also have a presence on the board of the wind energy lobby, the American Clean Power Association. Now, let me ask you guys this question because we got some good investigative people, good quality investigative journalists. How much money has the wind energy lobby given to each candidate? Does anybody know? I didn't see anything. I didn't see Roland Martin talk about that at all. I didn't see anybody talk about that at all. And none of the greats. Or not so greats. Whichever you consider. Depends on your definition of great. Great is subjective, right? But it isn't just the corporate welfare. The IRA consumer subsidies disproportionately benefit the wealthy. Now, that's not good, right? Because if the wealthy is somewhat determined by the indicators in the racial wealth gap, what is this doing to the racial wealth gap? What's this doing to the racial wealth gap, ladies and gentlemen, if all of this money is disproportionately targeted to the wealthy, just like how all of the money that disproportionately went to the wealthy during C-19 went up there? Roughly half of the tax subsidies for electric vehicles are being captured by big corporations, Tesla, Ford, General Motors, while almost 4/5 of the taxpayers claiming these credits earn over $100,000 per year. This administration has consistently pushed policies that favor higher income Americans over lower and middle income Americans. The extended pause on student loan payments, which lasted until late 2022, primarily aided graduates who are lawyers and physicians who make an average salary of $176,000 and $246,000 per year, respectively, while being paid for by taxpayers, many of whom did not go to college. Kind of like how many taxpayers are paying for people who came to the border illegally, who most of us taxpayers didn't come through the border illegally or ever come through the border at all. Oh, shout out to Alonda, the black. Tell them I said I appreciate it. You know what I'm saying? Like we didn't come through the border illegally, but we're paying for all of this border crisis. And if you guys are interested in the border crisis, make sure that you watch this video all the way through to the end. It'll take you into the next stream that's scheduled to go live on Undocumented at 12:55 p.m. tonight, where we will be taking a even deeper dive into the confusion and chaos that's going on in Springfield, Ohio. How many people have heard about that? Oh, that's what's up, Alonda. I didn't even know they watched me, but tell them I said that's what's good. I appreciate it. I appreciate the shout out. Shout out to John Guillory. What's good with you, bro? So now here it says, for over 2 years now, the Biden-Harris administration has attempted, often unconstitutionally, to forgive $10,000 in student loan debt for some of the country's wealthiest workers. According to a Federal Reserve Bank of New York study, which we probably should look at, right? The larger the loan forgiveness, the more likely the beneficiaries will be white and wealthy. This is hardly a progressive policy. Well, I don't know if I would necessarily say that, because as we all know, because of because of Democrat policy, it's created pathways to where certain white people can be looked at as minorities. People always talk about quote unquote white men. Let me ask you guys a question. By today's standards of what the Democrats have done, would a white LGBTQ male be considered a minority in the United States? If he or she or however they decide to identify would be, give me a thumbs up. If you disagree and don't think so, then give me a thumbs down. These are the things we have to consider. We're living in the time where changing a definition is just okay to change reality, which it's not okay, but they're making that okay. You know what I'm saying? So now here it says even the left has criticized student loan forgiveness. In fact, editorial board of the Washington Post, as well as economist Jason Furman, who led the Council of Economic Advisors during the Obama administration, have pointed out this policy is remarkably unfair and regressive. And another thing is the Washington Post has actually been on her about all of these old Biden era policies, because these old Biden era policies are the building blocks of Bidenomics. We already know what the building blocks of Bidenomics creates. It creates 2024. Would you guys agree or would you disagree? So if we're drawing from the same blueprint, we're going to get the same structure, right? So now here it says there's the American Rescue Plan bill, the bill that helped spark the highest inflation in 40 years. It also expanded the child tax credit, which, unlike income support programs, is not targeted towards low-income families. Now, she mentioned the child tax credit tonight, and what she said tonight is that she wanted to give, what, $6,000 a child? Is that what she said? So now, if we've seen that the past effects of expanding the child tax credit were what they were, my question for you guys is, what would the future effects of expanding the tax credits be if nothing else has changed? Unlike income support programs, it is not targeted towards low-income families. In 2019, families earning over $100,000 claimed 44% of all non-refundable benefits, while only 11% went to families earning under $40,000. In his new book, Taxocracy, Tax Foundation senior policy advisor Scott Hodge points out that for taxpayers earning between $25,000 and $30,000, the average CTC received was $711, while taxpayers earning between $200,000 and $500,000 received a $3,018 on average child tax credit. All right. Now, Harris is proposing. All right. And we saw this tonight. Harris is proposing to not only restore the enhanced child tax credit, which was only in effect for 1 year in 2021, but also create a new $6,000 tax credit for newborns. Vice presidential candidate J.D. Vance has floated a similar bad idea that is certain to redistribute yet more taxpayer funds to high-earning households. Okay. Harris's policy agenda of feeding the rich was on full display at the Democratic National Convention in August. But now, if you would have listened to the mainstream media criticize any of that, it wouldn't sound like it. It wouldn't sound like it. And again, another thing is that I believe that a lot of people have been trained not to listen for certain things. A lot of people have been trained to listen for certain things that I wouldn't say those things are of no value, but just listening for those cues are not going to get people the things that they want. And if you don't believe me that they're not going to get people the things that they want, how long have people been doing that stuff, and what has anybody gotten out of it, is my question. So now here it says, where Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer openly urged to let the state and local tax deduction cap expire in 2025, SALT allows taxpayers to deduct state and local income and property taxes from their federal income tax liability. The SALT deduction is perhaps the most regressive provision in tax code. 99% of its benefits go to earners making over $100,000 a year, and 68% go to an even smaller group of earners making over $500,000 a year. Despite Harris's rhetoric of fighting for the middle class, her policies have disproportionately benefited the wealthy and large corporations while leaving middle and lower income Americans behind. Far from soaking the rich, Harris's legacy has been one of feeding them. Shout out to my man Stack Bundles. Rest in peace. Look, Ninja, you food. You know what I'm saying?